Discover the incredible 2-hour journey of Viking warriors overcoming winter's hidden challenges. In the small town of Ravenswood, where winter's frost clung like a sinister blanket, Eliza was a modern-day warrior. She faced daily challenges with the strength of those ancient legends her father once spoke of, stories that breathed life into her very existence. The cold nipped at her fingers, making her tasks all the more difficult as she checked on her dying crops, each withered leaf a painful reminder of the struggle ahead. Eliza had taken over her father's produce farm after he passed away, feeling the weight of legacy on her shoulders. Her husband was long gone, leaving her to juggle the demands of motherhood and the relentless drive of keeping the farm alive. As she trudged through the snow, memories of laughter and warmth turned into whispers of doubt. Friends from the city beckoned her, their voices filled with promises of better pay and a fresh start, but her heart ached. The frost mirrored her own internal chill, wrapping around her like a vice. Each evening brought dark clouds of worry as the bitter winter swallowed Ravenswood. The news of property developers eyeing her land felt like a betrayal of everything she had fought to build. Could she really let this happen? The idea of letting go gnawed at her heart. The legacy of her father, the stories of Viking warriors braving the unforgiving winters, ignited a fire within. They conquered, she would think, recalling her father's animated tales as his eyes sparkled with pride. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The fierce determination to hold on to her father's legacy was stronger than the biting cold. Yet, her relationships within the close-knit community began to strain. Eliza's estranged father, a veteran whose pride was steeped in traditional values, often clouded her dreams with disappointment. She longed for his acceptance, yet the drive to forge her own path tore at her heart. As frost crept across her fields, Eliza found unexpected allies among her neighbors. They gathered, sharing their struggles, forming a coalition of sorts against the cruel winter that suffocated their dreams. There was warmth in their camaraderie, smiles and laughter breaking through the dark clouds of despair. However, not everyone wore a friendly face. Betrayal lurked too close for comfort. A supposed friend sabotaged her efforts, an enemy cloaked in a friendly guise, making her fight feel increasingly insurmountable. Hope flickered as the community rallied behind her efforts to save her farm. With each passing day, she felt the energy of her father's Viking spirit flow through her veins. Would she rise to the occasion, standing strong against the blizzard of betrayal, or let the icy grip of doubt crush her dream? Fear hung thick in the air, leaving her to wonder if she would emerge victorious as the warrior her father celebrated, or would the frost encase her dreams forever? As dawn broke over Ravenswood, the sun cast timid rays of light that struggled to pierce the cold fog wrapping around Eliza's farm. She awoke, with a start, an idea blooming in her mind like a sunflower breaking through the frost. Maybe her father's stories held more than just nostalgia, they could become her battle cry. Strengthened by renewed resolve, she quickly bundled up, hoping the warmth from this newfound purpose would fend off the cold nipping at her cheeks. With determination, Eliza gathered her neighbors for an emergency meeting. They filled the creaking old barn, their faces worn yet hopeful. Each spoke of struggles, a leaking roof, icy roads, and the relentless specter of the developers. Eliza stood before them, heart racing as she recounted her father's tales of Viking raids and resilience. As she talked about seizing their destiny with the courage of warriors, she could see the flickers of hope ignite in their eyes. "Together, we can be like those warriors!" she exclaimed. "Let us not just defend our homes, let us fight for our community. Let us cultivate strength and unity, and send a message to those developers that Ravenswood isn't for sale." The crowd erupted with nods and murmurs of agreement, their spirits rising as they felt the warmth of connection and purpose. Through the next week, the barn buzzed with life. They worked together, creating plans and strategies. Ideas swirled about rallying for a community event to showcase their produce and craftsmanship, drawing visitors to their quiet town. They envisioned a festival, a celebration of their land, labor, and legacy. Eliza felt a surge of excitement. She hadn't just riled her neighbor's passion, but had reignited her own. Yet, as preparations unfolded, shadows of betrayal lurked closer. Eliza noticed a shift in atmosphere. Her supposed friend, Jenny, who had been supportive in public, often slipped away to make secretive phone calls. Whispers and sideways glances filled the air, making Eliza's heart race with trepidation. Could she trust anyone? The icy grip of doubt threatened to claw back and point one snowy evening. While hanging banners and laughing with her neighbors, Eliza felt a sharp pang of worry. She was on the verge of something monumental, yet the specter of betrayal loomed large above her. It was Gwendolyn, her most trusted ally, who had always pulled her back down when Eliza's hopes soared too high. "Gwen, do you think this is really going to work?" Eliza asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Gwen paused, her face serious. "It has to, Eliza. But you need to be careful. Not everyone is on your side. You have to watch your back." The weight of those words felt heavier than the winter snow, settling uncomfortably in her chest. The festival day drew near, and the excitement turned into anxiety as sabotage became real. Banners went missing, produce mysteriously spoiled overnight. Eliza refused to let the dark cloud settle over her. With fire in her heart, she rallied the community once more. "I refuse to let fear dictate my future," she proclaimed, staring into the eyes of her friends. "Together, we've come too far to turn back. We're warriors of our own story." As they prepared to face whatever storm approached, a sense of unity blossomed. But just as she felt the slightest hint of victory, a chilling thought crossed her mind. Who could she trust when shadows lurked even inside her circle? Eliza stood at the brink of her festival, bracing against the wind of uncertainty. Would she triumph over her fears and the betrayals that threatened to unravel them all, or would her fight for legacy collapse under the weight of treachery? As the day approached, one question loomed large: would her hope eclipse the frost, or would Ravenswood's spirit succumb to the silence of despair? The sun rose on festival day with determination etched into Eliza's face, but worry pooled in her stomach. The air was electric, buzzing with energy and anticipation, yet thick with unease. She could feel it in the way whispers darted between her neighbors, in the flickering glances that often turned away too soon. As they set up the tables for the farmer's market, the smell of fresh bread mingled with the crisp autumn air, creating a stark contrast to the tension simmering beneath the surface. Eliza moved among her friends, offering smiles and words of encouragement, but her heart felt heavy. Every laugh sounded a little too forced, every cheer bore the weight of uncertainty. "Are we ready for this, Eliza?" asked James, her neighbor, as he adjusted a banner that suddenly looked too frayed at the edges. "What if the developers are planning something today?" She swallowed, her resolve faltering for a moment. "We're ready. We're stronger together. They can't take what isn't for sale." Her voice was steady, but doubt echoed in her mind. Suddenly, a commotion broke out at the other end of the market. Eliza turned to see Jenny, her supposed friend, arguing with a group of locals. The sight was unsettling. Eliza's heart dropped. The bond of friendship felt fragile, as if it could shatter at any moment. But would she confront Jenny on a day meant to celebrate unity? As Eliza approached, trying to gauge the situation, Jenny's voice rang louder, her tone biting. "You all think this festival is going to save our homes? Wake up. You're just delaying the inevitable. Wild dreams won't keep you warm at night." Gasps echoed through the crowd. Eliza's heart raced. She had to intervene. "That's enough, Jenny!" Eliza called out, clenching her fists. "Our dreams matter. We've worked too hard to let fear take over. We believe in each other." A tense silence engulfed the market. Everyone's eyes flicked between Jenny and Eliza. In that moment, the reality of their choices hung heavy in the air. "But what if you're wrong?" Jenny sneered, crossing her arms and backing away. "What if you lead them to ruin?" Eliza felt the heat of frustration boil over. Maybe being wrong means we try. But being stuck in fear? That's not living. This is our home, Jenny. We won't be pushed out just because it's easier for someone else. Her voice rang through the crowd, and she could feel a ripple of energy shift. The fire within her ignited a spark in her neighbors as they began to rally together. Voices harmonized, affirming their purpose, and one by one, people began to step forward. Together! Shouted a farmer, clapping his hands to gain attention. This is how we stand against the tide. Eliza breathed in the strength surrounding her. This was it, the community would rise or fall together. But still, a knot of anxiety twisted in her stomach. As she glanced around, she wondered what was brewing behind those confident smiles. In the corner of her eye, she spotted Gwen, her face pale and serious, watching intently. "Eliza, watch out!" Gwen shouted, eyes wide. Eliza turned just in time to see a figure lurking at the edge of the crowd, phone in hand, watching. It was hard to see details, but something about it felt wrong, almost hostile. She felt a surge of panic thrum through her veins. "Your festival won't stop what's coming," the figure yelled suddenly, breaking the fragile peace. Everyone turned, confusion swirling in the air like leaves before a storm. Eliza took a deep breath, grounding herself. This was not just another challenge, this was a turning point. Would they stand and fight against the looming threat together, or would the shadows of betrayal consume them all? With her heart pounding like a drum, she raised her voice above the clamor. "We've come too far to let fear win. Together, we can overcome anything." As the crowd began to rally around her again, Eliza couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into a snare. But her heart beat for unity, and she took a step forward. The moment was theirs. What would be the cost of their determination? With the air thick with uncertainty, Eliza prepared for whatever storm was coming. Would they withstand the oncoming test of their bonds, or would the foundation of their community crack under pressure? The festival was just the beginning, but what lay ahead would define them all. The murmurs in the crowd grew louder. Eliza felt her heart race. Standing there, she recognized that this was no ordinary moment. Fear was a palpable force, weaving through their once jubilant energy like a sting in the air. Friends were now strangers, allies were turning against each other, and divisions threatened to unravel all they had fought for. "Why are you hiding?" she shouted at the figure at the fringe of the crowd. It was a challenge, a demand for them to reveal their intentions. The figure stepped forward slightly, the sunlight catching glints of metal in their pocket. A wave of unease washed over Eliza, but she held her ground. "Because I'm here to show you the truth." The figure's voice dripped with an icy certainty. "You think this festival will save your homes? The developers are lying in wait, and today is the day they pulled the rug out from under you." Eliza's breath caught. The tension in the air thickened, wrapping around her like a cold blanket. She felt the gaze of her neighbors, heavy with anticipation, waiting for her response. "What do you mean?" "The contracts are already signed. They're just waiting for the right moment to strike, to swoop in and take what's theirs before you even know what hit you. All this," the figure gestured to the beautiful stalls and smiling faces, "is just a distraction. You're living in a fantasy." A gasp rippled through the crowd. Eliza's eyes darted among the familiar faces of her friends, trying to gauge their reactions. Doubt started to trickle in. What if this was true? What if she had misled everyone? "Listen!" she called out, her voice faltering. "We've built this community with love and effort. We can't just let some paper tell us who we are or where we belong. What we have is worth fighting for." She looked directly at Gwen. "Isn't it?" Gwen opened her mouth, hesitation flickering across her face. "But if what they're saying is true, if the developers know..." Eliza cut in, fierce determination lighting her up from within. "Then we fight harder. We make this a place they'll think twice about taking. We don't back down. Not now." The crowd absorbed her words. They had been waiting for strength, a reason to believe. Slowly, a wave of murmurs began to rise, voices that had been silent now angry and urgent. "Together. shouted someone else in the crowd. Eliza felt a rush of hope. Yes, together. Just then, a hand shot up in the back. What if they come with the law? You can't fight the law. It was Ted, a local who had been quiet until now. Fear rippled through the crowd again. Eliza's heart sank. She needed to counter this doubt. What if we stand as one? What if we go to the meetings, voice our concerns? We fight for our right to this land. Do you think we can really make a difference? Ted persisted, his voice shaky yet insistent. For a moment, uncertainty hung in the air, tangible and heavy. But then Eliza took a step forward, her eyes scanning the crowd, locking onto each face. We have to believe in each other. Look around. We've got farmers, families, dreamers. We can't let fear stifle our spirit. We've come this far, why not go the distance? A murmur ignited. Eyes widened. A spark of belief flickered like candlelight in the growing storm of worry. Join me, Eliza cried, raising her hands to the skies as if summoning strength from the sun itself. Join me, and let us show them what a real community looks like. It's not just a festival, it's our stand, our declaration. With every word she spoke, Eliza felt that knot in her stomach start to untwist, replaced by the warmth of collective strength. One by one, people began to mumble their agreement, voices swelling into a chorus stemming from deep-rooted conviction. But lurking in the back of her mind was the nagging thought: how much was she willing to risk? Could they really take on the developers? As people cheered and rallied, she felt a shadow cross over her heart. What if it all collapsed around them? The figure lingered, watching, holding their phones steady. And deep down, Eliza sensed the tension of the unknown, the uncertainty of what came next. But the fight was ignited. There was no turning back now. As she locked eyes with the lurking figure, she whispered just above the noise, "Whatever it takes." The festival had become a battlefield, but Eliza could feel the winds shifting. Would this be their moment to ignite a movement, or would the flames of hope be extinguished just as fast? The crowd surged with new energy, voices rising like a tide. Eliza could hardly believe the warmth swirling in the air. Each cheer, each phrase of solidarity, seemed to lift her spirit higher. Yet behind the exhilaration lay a gnawing fear. She felt like a tightrope walker, balancing precariously above a chasm of uncertainty. "Let us march!" someone yelled, a man with a thick beard and a face lined with years of hard work. Eliza looked around. In their eyes she saw desperation, but there was something else: determination. The desire to protect what was theirs pulsed through the crowd like a heartbeat. "Where do we go?" she shouted back, galvanizing the group into action. "To the town hall," came the unified response. As they pushed through the festival, the stalls and booths seemed to dissolve behind them, their joy faded into the background noise of their urgency. Eliza led the charge, her heart pounding, wings of hope carrying her on, but all the while darkness nipped at her heels. Images of developers holding contracts and blueprints flashed in her mind. Shadows of power looming over them. She had read the papers, seen the slick logos of corporations promising growth. Deep down, she felt it would come at a cost. Would they really lose their homes? Her thoughts were interrupted as they neared the town hall. It stood grand and imposing, its gray stone facade reflecting the overcast sky above. The heavy door offered little comfort, standing like a solid wall against everything they believed in. They arrived, breathless and animated. Eliza looked back at her community, faces both familiar and new, filled with raw emotion. It made her skin tingle with exhilaration. They were here for a cause, united as one. As they gathered outside the entrance, there was a shift in the air. A few attended to their phones, agitated whispers surrounding an unsettling rumor. "What if the developers are already here?" someone murmured. Eliza's heart sank, but she couldn't show her fear. Instead, she raised her voice above the murmur. "We can't let them intimidate us. We deserve to be heard. We want answers," called out a young woman, stepping forward with fierce determination. Eliza recognized her as Mia, a local teacher known for her passion and spirit. "Yeah," she echoed, urging others to join. "No more silence." They formed a row, A human barrier at the entrance of the hall, a wall of solidarity against any threat. Eliza inhaled deeply. She could feel their collective heartbeat, the pulse of a community ready to defend their lives. Suddenly, the heavy doors creaked open, and a middle-aged man stepped out, wearing an expensive suit. His eyes scanned the crowd, bemusement filling his expression. What's all this commotion about? Eliza stepped forward, heart pounding. We need to talk. You need to come clean about what's happening to our community. A tension swelled within the festivity once vibrant. The man smiled coolly, but Eliza noticed the slight twitch in his eye. I think there's been a misunderstanding, he said, voice smooth and patronizing. This is all just talk. A voice shouted from the back. You're playing with our homes. Our lives. Eliza felt the collective anger sweep through the crowd, a tidal wave of emotion threatening to break the dam of calm. In their outrage, she saw a flicker of vulnerability in the man's posture. Did he feel cornered? The moment hung in the air, and Eliza knew the stakes were rising. We're not leaving until we get the truth, she declared, her heart racing as she took a bold step forward. What would it take to uncover the reality of their situation? Could they push through the iron walls of authority? With every beat of her heart, she felt the thrill of confrontation mixed with fear of the unknown. The man hesitated, his mouth opening to respond when a loud rumble echoed through the crowd, something distant yet foreboding, almost like a storm brewing. Everyone paused, turning towards the sound. Eliza's breath caught in her throat. What was happening? What could be waiting for them just beyond those doors, as uncertainty gripped her heart? She knew a decisive moment was upon them. Would they uncover the truth, or was the danger even closer than they realized? The rumble grew louder, a low growl that resonated through the town square, sending an electric jolt of fear through Eliza. She glanced at the crowd surrounding her. Troubled faces locked onto the towering figure of the man in the suit, eyes wide with disbelief. What is that? A voice cried out from the back. Panic crept in like an uninvited guest, whispering fears of the unknown. Stay calm, Eliza shouted, tightening her grip on the megaphone. Her own heart raced, echoing the anxiety of her neighbors. We're not here for trouble. We just want answers. But the sound intensified, a cacophony now, drowning out her words. A crowd of onlookers began inching back, unease sowing seeds of doubt among them. Eliza fought to hold her ground, the surge of uncertainty making her feel small, like a ship lost in a tempest. The man in the suit smirked, clearly unfazed. This is just theatrics, isn't it? He barked, stepping down from the steps of the town hall. You think you can stop progress? Eliza's resolve hardened. She could feel a shift, a rising tide of strength among her neighbors. It was a slight thing, but Eliza sensed it, a determination to face whatever was coming. Suddenly, a large vehicle emerged from the shadows, rumbling down the street. It was an enormous black truck, adorned with corporate markings and brimming with equipment. The crowd gasped collectively, realization crashing down like waves. They're here to take what's ours, a man yelled, breaking the tension into a flood of outrage. Stand firm, Eliza urged, raising her hands to quell the growing chaos. Don't let them intimidate you. Remember why we're here. The truck pulled closer, stopping just outside the town hall. People began to shout, their voices merging into a furious chorus. No more silence! We demand answers! Others raised fists, a symbol of defiance. Eliza felt her blood buzzing with energy. The man's expression shifted from bemused to frustrated. You're making a mistake. This is for your own good. He yelled back, desperately trying to regain control of the situation. Good? Mia shouted, her voice cutting through the din. You call this good? You're tearing apart everything we've built. A wave of agreement rippled through the crowd. Eliza soaked in the collective anger, using it to amplify her own voice. This is our home. We will not sit back and let you destroy our community. As the argument escalated, the crowd pressed forward, a living mass of indignation demanding justice. The air crackled with anticipation, every word spoken like fuel to a roaring fire. But then, amidst the shouting, a figure stepped out from the truck. A woman, armed with a clipboard and determination set in her jaw. She looked young but fierce, and Eliza felt a spark of curiosity ignite within. "Enough!" the woman shouted, her voice slicing through the turbulence like a knife. "I'm here to listen." Eliza felt hope flicker within her chest, battling against the lingering fear. This could be the moment they turned the tide, the chance to pull back the curtain on the truth. What answers would this newcomer bring? Was she an ally or just another obstacle in their path? "Then let us talk," Eliza shouted back, her heart racing, ready to confront whatever came next. The crowd hushed, tension stilling the air as they leaned in closer, straining to hear what was to unfold. What would she reveal? Could this be the key to turning their plight into victory? Eliza's thoughts spiraled, anticipation mingling with trepidation. As the woman stepped forward, clipboard in hand, Eliza braced herself. The moment of truth was upon them, and she could already feel the weight of the answers shifting the ground beneath her feet. The woman's confident stride pulled everyone's attention, weaving through the crowd with an intensity that felt electric. Eliza's heart thudded in her chest, each beat echoing the silent question hovering in the air. Who was she? What did she want? "Thank you for gathering here today," the woman began, her calm demeanor cutting through the tension like a lighthouse beam on a stormy night. "I'm Maya, and I'm here to gather your concerns, but before we dive into that, I need to make one thing clear." Eliza found herself leaning closer, trying to catch every word. Maya's eyes scanned the crowd, assessing the mix of fear and defiance. "This is not a takeover. This is about progress, yes, but it's also about community." A murmur broke out. Some were skeptical, others eager, but all were engaged. Maya raised her hands again, seeking to command attention. "I understand your fears, they are valid. This isn't just about a corporate project. This is about you. The people who live and love this community." "Then why the heavy machinery?" came a voice from the back, dripping with sarcasm. It was Tom, who always seemed to know just what to say to rile the crowd. Maya's expression softened, and for a moment, Eliza saw a flicker of respect for their passion. "Because the old factory site is a safety hazard. We want to restore it, and part of that means making tough decisions, but we want your input too." "The old factory? That's where my dad worked," Tom shouted, shaking his head. "You think you can just bulldoze our history?" Eliza felt the tension rise again, but Maya quickly interrupted, her clipboard clutched to her chest. "No, we want to preserve what's important. That's why I'm here. To listen to you and to see how we can create a space together." The crowd began to stir, the initial outrage giving way to a cautious curiosity. Was there a chance they could be part of this? Was it possible that she wanted to work with them, not against them? "Please," Maya urged, her voice warm and inviting. "I want to hear your stories. What does this community mean to you?" Eliza seized her moment, her voice clearer now. "We are a family here. We've supported each other through thick and thin. This isn't just a plot of land. It's our history, it's our home." Encouragement rippled through the crowd, emboldening others to voice their thoughts. Each story shared added gravity to the atmosphere, collective memories woven together like a patchwork quilt. From local diners to favorite hangouts, the community began to paint a vivid picture of their life together. As the tension shifted, a soft glow of hope illuminated Eliza's heart. Perhaps there was a way forward and understanding could be built. But just as the crowd seemed to lean in with newfound determination, an unexpected sound cracked through the atmosphere, a faint explosion, followed by a plume of smoke rising in the distance. Gasps echoed, and Maya's face blanched. What was that? Eliza's stomach dropped. Had something gone wrong? Fear welled up again, chilling her hope. "We need to check it out," she urged, adrenaline kicking in. "Something's happening over there." The crowd's mood turned electric again, eyes darting toward the smoke, the uncertainty returning like an unwelcome ghost. What lay ahead? Would they descend into chaos once more, or could they find a way through this latest challenge? The stakes felt higher now, and Eliza braced herself as they surged toward the unknown, united in purpose but fractured by fear. Eliza pushed through the crowd, her heart racing. As they moved closer to the source of the smoke, the air thickened with panic and anticipation. What had happened? Was someone hurt? The questions buzzed around her like angry bees. She stole glances at Maya, who now had a resolute expression, her eyes shining with determination despite the unfolding chaos. "Stay together," Maya shouted, her voice cutting through the murmur of fear. It was a call to unity, and Eliza felt a flicker of reassurance. They weren't just facing this alone, they were all in this together. The crowd pressed forward, desperate to see what lay just ahead. As they approached the edge of the old factory site, Eliza caught sight of a group of people already gathered there, some holding their phones out to capture the moment. Others were standing back, the worry etched on their faces visible even from a distance. Then Eliza saw it. A small fire had sparked amid the debris, remnants of the factory catching flame and sending up a plume of black smoke. Panic surged as people tried to make sense of it all. Shouting erupted from somewhere to her left. Someone was screaming, "Get water!" Someone called the fire department. A man yelled, his hands frantically waving as if trying to direct the chaos that spiraled around them. The urgency prompted Eliza to spring into action. "We have to help. There's a hydrant over there," she urged, pointing toward a familiar red fixture she had often passed in countless walks. Without thinking, she began moving towards it, her instincts kicking in. As she dashed, Eliza felt the heat from the flames wash over her. The smell of burning plastic and wood filled her lungs. It was a vivid reminder of exactly what was at stake here, not just history, but the people that lived in its shadow. "Please, someone come with me," she called out, glancing back at Maya and the crowd. To her surprise, several people stepped forward, including Tom, whose earlier frustration was now replaced by resolve. "Let us go," he shouted, his voice booming over the frantic atmosphere. Together they sprinted to the hydrant, knowing time was of the essence. Their way back to the fire was blocked by thickening smoke. With every breath, Eliza felt the weight of the moment. This fire was merely a flicker of what could happen if they didn't work together. It was more than a call to action. It was a reminder that they belonged to each other, that they were a community woven together through shared experiences. As they turned the corner, the remnants of the factory loomed like a grave sentinel, and Eliza felt a surge of emotion. The factory wasn't just a building. It was a part of them, of who they had been, and who they could still be. "Here!" Eliza shouted, rushing back as Tom and others swiftly connected the hose to the hydrant. Spraying water, they watched as the flames began to yield, pushing back the fire with their collective spirit. But as the smoke began to clear, an unsettling realization washed over Eliza. They might have stopped the fire today, but what if this was just a harbinger of bigger challenges ahead? What if the community they loved was under threat in ways they couldn't anticipate? The crowd began to settle, eyes now glued to Maya, fully aware that her next words could change everything. In that moment, they were all clinging to hope, but waiting for guidance. Maya stepped forward, a fierce light in her eyes. "This isn't just about rebuilding structures. It's about rebuilding trust, resilience, and facing whatever comes our way together." Eliza's breath caught, the weight of Maya's words settling heavily on her shoulders. What was the future going to demand from them, and were they truly ready to answer that call? Just then, surprising voices popped up from the crowd, fierce and determined, ready to share their stories, their visions. Eliza's heart swelled. But in the back of her mind, a new worry hung like a dark cloud. What more would they have to sacrifice to stand together? The next chapter started to unfold, but the question remained, could they hold on to what they cherished, and still rise to face the rising storm? The air was thick with smoke, but it was the voices of the crowd that made it feel suffocating. Eliza looked around at the faces surrounding her, some concerned, some frightened, but all reflecting an urgency to take action. Maya stood firm at the forefront, the embodiment of their collective determination. "Let us make a plan," Maya shouted, rallying the crowd. Eliza felt the pull of adrenaline surge through her as she stepped forward, nodding in agreement. "We can create a perimeter," Keep the flames from spreading. People murmured in agreement, their disbelief turning into resolve. In that moment, Eliza saw more than just fear. She saw a spark of solidarity igniting among the weary faces. Who's familiar with this area? Eliza asked as she scanned the group. Hands began to go up slowly. Great! We need a team to grab buckets, to keep the fire contained. Others can clear out brush and debris, anything that might catch. Tom jumped in. I'll handle the brush. We need to move fast. His outburst seemed to stir the crowd even more, setting forth a wave of action. Okay. Let us split into teams. Eliza continued, directing traffic like a seasoned leader. We've got this, everyone. Together. The more she spoke, the stronger her voice became. Each word pushed away the weight of doubt that clung to her. Once the teams were formed, Eliza hurried off with Maya and a handful of others, heading toward the nearest store that might have buckets. Every step felt like a mission, an urgent call to save not only their community, but the spirit of it. When they reached the store, the doors were locked tight. Frustration slid down Eliza's spine, but Maya quickly stepped forward, banging on the glass. Hey! We need your help! She shouted, desperation coloring her voice. Moments felt like hours, but eventually, the owner emerged, his face drawn with worry. What's going on? He asked, glancing nervously down the street towards the chaos. We have a fire near the old factory. We need buckets, anything to help us fight it. Maya explained breathlessly. Without hesitation, the owner unlocked the door and ushered them inside. Grab what you need. Just hurry! They quickly filled their arms with buckets, pushing past fear in favor of purpose. Eliza felt the rush of adrenaline fueling her, but deep down, the anxiety of what lay ahead clawed at her. As they dashed back to the site, buckets swinging at their sides, the sounds of the community began to grow louder. Shouts of encouragement echoed through the crowd, reinforcing the bond forming between them all. Stay focused! Eliza yelled, her heart pounding. They arrived at a small line of firefighters now gearing up to take over. Hold the line here, Eliza instructed her group, pointing towards the fresh blaze that threatened to spread. She took in a deep breath, the acrid air mingling with the determination that flowed through her veins. Remember what you love about this place, she urged, glancing at Maya, who nodded fiercely. Each heartbeat felt synchronized, each second spent fighting felt like stitching a wound in their community's identity. Equipped with the buckets, they formed a chain, passing water back and forth, a powerful lifeline forged in the midst of chaos. With each splash, it was more than just fire they were battling. It was the fear of losing their shared history, their unity. But then, a sudden shout tore through the air. Look out! Someone yelled, pointing towards a large stack of old crates. Eliza turned just in time to see flames licking the edge, ready to ignite the nearby gas pipeline. Her heart leaped into her throat. We have to move it now! She screamed, rushing toward the danger without thinking. Maya and Tom followed relentlessly, but fear clawed at Eliza's insides. Would they make it in time? The fire's roar filled her ears as she reached the crates, panic slapping her like a cold wind. They had to act fast. Time hung heavy, and all she could think was, could they really save everything they held dear before it was too late? As the flames surged, a voice rang out from the back of the crowd. Help is on the way. But was it enough? With seconds ticking away, Eliza's determination tightened like a noose. What would they really sacrifice when it all came crashing down? And as the panic swirled around them, she understood one thing: they couldn't just fight the flames. They needed to fight for each other, for everything they had left to protect. The chaos met Eliza's heart with a drumroll of urgency. She felt her mind racing, caught between the heat of the fire and the love for her community. As flames licked hungrily toward the crates, she shouted for everyone to gather around, forming a chain of support that pulsed with adrenaline and desperation. Grab a bucket! She yelled, her voice cracking with intensity. We can't let this spread. Together! The rhythm of movement flowed as neighbors joined in, creating a wall of determination as they passed water back and forth. Their hands moved as if guided by a single intention, pouring out their fears and insecurities alongside the torrents of water. With each splash, the fire hissed, retreating slightly, but a wildness still danced within the flames, each crackle a reminder of the precariousness of their situation. Just as they managed to cool a fiery section, a new surge ignited, as if mocking their valiant efforts. Eliza's heart sank. "Move the crates!" she screamed again, feeling the weight of impending disaster pressing against her. Time spilled out around her like grains of sand, desperate and fleeing. Then she saw Maya, her fierce companion, darting forward with Tom at her heels. Drawing closer to the danger, they were a team forging ahead, embodying the Viking spirit that Eliza cherished. "Hold those flames back," Maya commanded, and like warriors, the community surged behind her battle cry. Adrenaline surged, and Eliza found herself alongside her friends, prying apart the crates, their weight forcing the fear to subside just a little. "Toss them away," Tom urged, muscles straining, adrenaline racing. Eliza gripped one end and together they pulled, sending the crates tumbling clear, just seconds before a flare danced dangerously close. The community cheered as the fire retreated, but Eliza knew this was just the beginning. The noise from the crowd swelled, voices rising around her as the flames crackled relentlessly. Each cheer felt earned, but doubt began to creep in again. Was it enough? The fire raged on, unyielding, representing not just the moment, but the threats that loomed large over them all this winter. But then, amidst the chaos, she felt a quiet strength resonating within the fabric of their unity. The shared courage of her neighbors warmed her heart, pushing back the cold fear that had threatened to consume them. This wasn't just about saving a building. It was about saving a community's identity, their shared stories woven through laughter and struggle. Eliza's voice rang out among the clamor. "Together, we can do this. Remember our roots. We're Viking warriors against this storm." The crowd responded, meeting her fervor with a chorus of agreement. Each voice melded into one strong current, beautiful in its unity, emboldening their spirits to rise against the heat. As firefighters arrived, the flicker of hope ignited once more. Their arrival signaled a shift, a reassurance that they weren't alone in this fight. They worked alongside the community as one, a living entity fighting for the integrity of Ravenswood. The day darkened, but with every ounce of strength, they poured water not just on flames, but on fear. The fire roared but gradually retreated as the battle waged on. Together, they laughed, cried, and stood firm against the encroaching darkness. Finally, as dusk fell, the color of the flames shifted from ferocity to warmth, dying down to embers instead of ashes. The last of the roaring flames sputtered and faded, and silence wrapped around them like a comforting embrace, punctuated by a few exhausted breaths. Eliza felt tears threaten her determination. She turned to face her community, cheeks flushed with exertion. "We did it together," she breathed, the weight of triumph washing over her. Maya grinned widely, holding her clipboard skyward as sparks of celebration ignited within those around them. "Now we need to tell our story. This is only the beginning of our fight." Their community came alive, voices ringing through the night, celebrating resilience and a promise never to back down. Hope blossomed amidst the charred remains, stronger than ever before. Eliza's heart swelled, remembering her father's tales of Viking warriors. They had faced storms and emerged victorious, together. Now Ravenswood would face whatever came next in solidarity as well. The weight of uncertainty, while real, felt less daunting now. Didn't they prove today that they could rise against any adversity? With every voice intertwined, they would not only keep their land but write the next chapter of their story. Then she caught a breath, filled with gratitude for everyone present, and made a silent promise. "We will keep fighting, for our roots, for our future." The newfound resolve echoed throughout the darkness. Eliza glanced up at the night sky, stars breaking through the clouds, a reminder that they were never alone. Together they would nurture Ravenswood's legacy, unwilling to let anything extinguish their spirit ever again. This was their moment. And with that, she wrapped her arms around Maya, Tom, and those she called family, their laughter and camaraderie echoing into the cold night. They had faced the fire and, against all odds, found their strength. It was more than survival. It was a transformation, a reclamation of their destiny. Now, this was the moment to champion their voices. If you've felt inspired by this journey, here's what you need to do. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it truly makes a difference. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending, your thoughts matter, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. The power of support helps us all rise. Truly dedicated fans know every action counts.